Grace, coming to you, this ideally again brings about the aspect of the status of human rights in the country and extrajudicial killings, which seem to be a struggle for regime after regime to address this substantively. Given that you have in this space, what are the challenges in your view as to the inability by administrations to end the suffering of Kenyans?
So let me start by just reminding us of the numbers we are dealing with. Last year, we reported 67 deaths of Kenyans, extrajudicial killings. Unknown to us, we haven't shared our report yet, but as of today, 25, we are reporting already 17 deaths, and 5 of those are in police custody. 5 of those are already people who've died in the hands of police. So two very quick things. One, and we've spoken to the issue of individual and command responsibility. The level of impunity in this country is just too high. No one takes responsibility. No one is held accountable. And the call for the DIG, by the way, to step down is a country call. Because if you're a leader and you're accused, you're adversely mentioned in a situation, the practical thing is for you to step down so that then investigations can continue, in a transparent manner and without influence, without intimidation. Already, we know that there have been a lot of inconsistencies, as we've spoken, but there's also been a lot of attempts to cover up. So if there were attempts yesterday and the day before to cover up what could have transpired, how will it continue when someone who's been adversely mentioned is still in office and holding a high position? Now, let's ask ourselves who are interdicted yesterday. These are what I would call small fish, allow me to use that word. But we haven't seen any real leader taking responsibility and stepping down and or being interdicted. So we need to say that first and foremost, there has to be accountability.
But Grace, you had the OCS of the station who was interdicted, Mr. Talam, and the others. He is the head of, he's the officer in charge of the station, certainly not the small fish, is he?
Fair enough. But why isn't the DIG, who is a person who was a complainant to begin with, who is in the police force, who is in charge of a lot of, the big people, why wasn't he interdicted? So I think the fact remains that the country is demanding that the DIG steps down. The country is demanding that there's, the process of investigations is fast-tracked and that there's no cover-up whatsoever. Now, let's look at the use of, police brutality and weaponizing the police service. It is meant to be a service. But now what we are seeing is police using every available power. And when I say police, we know it's a few rogue police officers. It's not the general police service. We've seen very good police, officers, people with, good command of their positions. But we've also seen rogue officers who are going and getting away with it. As you correctly said, 2007, 2008. Where are we at? So all these cases, the issue of convictions has been very low, very poor. So that tells people that you can always get away with it and you continue abusing your power. Now, let's also look at why the arbitrary arrests, because that's a serious issue. We've seen a rise in arbitrary arrests, that any small thing one does and somebody in a position of power feels that it is against their position, their image, then they use the police service to get this person out of the way. That shouldn't be. So we are weaponizing the police service to be a tool that is used to score and to ensure that you protect the political elite, and this needs to stop.
Okay.
So in terms of the human rights position and status in the country, it's a shame that we have gone back to very dark days. It's appalling that we've had not only the extrajudicial killings, but enforced disappearances, including a situation where we say all the missing people have been found, yet we know they haven't been found. Okay. So it's important that we note that we are concerned about the regression in human rights in the country.
And Charles, police can arrest on mere suspicion. But I
will come to that.
Yes.
I'll come to that.
And then you explain the threshold.
Before I come to that, I am not DIG Lagat's advocate. DIG Lagat has gone through a lot of attacks the last 2 months. He has been attacked. We have had politicians saying their person was removed to put another person. It's in public domain. And if it was a new thing that this is the first incident and therefore something has happened, then it would be different. But Lagat has been under attack. It's like something coordinated for a purpose, that he should not be in that office. What I can say is Lagat has a right as an individual to complain when he thinks he's getting maligned and whatever it is. I've heard the president say there is no offense, but with my little knowledge, I know we have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act of 2018. Which you will guide us.
Which even the DPP yesterday.
Excuse me, you will guide us.
Used to approve a charge.
I'm saying
for Kelvin.
Excuse me, you will guide us.
Yeah.
On that.
Yes.
And also, we don't want also DPP to act politically, because if he's disapproving this and he has been approving others, then it is a challenge.
Which other ones has he approved?
No, there are so many people who have been charged for false publication. I don't think this is the first incidence. And I know because of, I don't have actual statistics, but I know the DCI has charged a number of people under the Misuse of Computers and Cybercrime Act. And a number of offenses, even if you go at international level, you find a number of offenses like false publication, what we call malware, what we call identity theft, and a number of issues. And a lot on cybercrime need to be prosecuted.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that call for Lagat to step down at this stage, according to me, is too early.
Yeah.
Because the person who had responsibility, who has actual responsibility of custody, is the OCS and his officers. If through investigations we find it was Lagat direct, because Lagat complained to the DCI. The DCI has a responsibility, because he's not junior, to take up the matter if he thinks there's an offense or not. It is not for Lagat to make a decision for the person to be arrested.
Okay.
So the person, just a minute,
yes,
the person to be arrested.
Yes, Charles, explain this then.
Yeah,
what then warrants, in your view, what's the threshold of reputational damage that warrants the arrest of a Kenyan who has freely expressed himself on social media and ended up dead in a police custody?
No, it's a bad thing, and I've explained that.
Yes.
It ought not even to happen. Are you getting me? It ought not even to happen. Just like he said, if offense is not cognizable, then you may not arrest without a warrant. But this is a discussion. Is this offense cognizable or non-cognizable? And that's what I was telling the President a few minutes ago. Let us be consistent in what we are doing. If we agree that people are not going to be arrested for Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Acts 2018, or people can be bullied in social media and it is acceptable, then let's agree as a country. It cannot be selective. What I'm saying is that this thing is escalated because this guy died in police custody, and it is wrong. It's giving the police a wrong image. And I've said that we need to inculcate trust. I'm not saying that it is right. The only thing I'm saying is that everyone seems to be targeting Lagat. If today Lagat steps down, the issue dies because interest seems to be Lagat.
Why Lagat? Why in your view is it Lagat?
No, because you see, he was a complainant in this matter, isn't it?
Okay.
He was a complainant in this matter. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If today I complain, just a minute, if today I complain that somebody has stolen my cows, I'm just a civilian, and then the anti-stock theft officers go and arrest this person and torture him and kill him, am I responsible for what they have done? So what we are saying is we have no reason, I cannot protect him. But I'm saying is it's too early. Let the owners of this, Kwanza the OCS and his officers, let them tell us what happened in custody.
Okay.
If we get evidence today that DIG Lagat was involved, then leave about interdiction. He goes to court. Not just interdicted. He goes to court straight away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but let us be very careful.
Okay.
Because let me tell you, Ayub,
please.
I want us to be very broad in this matter. I can tell you, you can be shocked if you find an external interference in this matter. You can be shocked to find somebody involved, even in bribing a police officer and doing this for another purpose. So we are in a very high. Just a minute,
Chelsea.
Just a minute.
Chelsea,
I don't want to.
Why I pose this to you.
Yes.
Is that you are not the normal citizen. I mean, you are a trained policeman who trained Lagat himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is why I am saying, let us not.
So the point is then, why the ambiguity around parties that you are mentioning and you are not naming names?
Exactly.
Which ones?
And Lagat,
I mean, who are the people who are targeting the DIG, in your view?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
We are all Kenyans. We have seen politicians going on media and saying, we had a director of CID, it was taken. We had a DIG, it was taken. We had I don't know what.
And what is the relation? What is the relation between these political statements
exactly.
and the crime?
That is why I am saying. Listen to me, Ayub. We are Kenyans. Listen to me. I am not exonerating anybody from this.
Yes.
Investigations ought to be open so that we get the actual culprit. Sometimes we can divert attentions and we move from the real cause of a problem.
No,
so what I'm saying is simple.
Yes, Charles,
this thing is open.
Yes.
No, what I'm saying, it's open.
Yeah.
But let us not target an individual who complained.
Point made.
That is my take.
Allow me to go to the Commissioner. I'll come to you.
Let me take it that way.
Yes, and your point is taken. Bwana Commissioner, when I interviewed you last year here at the height of the demonstrations when Kenyans went to the streets against the punitive tax proposals contained in the now dead finance bill, you said non-cooperation from the police and other agencies is why investigative processes are slowed down from IPOA's perspective. How different will this be? How different will the team that has succeeded you as the past commission be on this matter and come up with conclusive report for the public?
I personally think the blue code of conduct by the officers is consistent in investigations. So I do not expect that there will be more cooperation now than there wasn't last year. But more importantly is not to politicize issues like this, because a life has been lost. Yes, and even if IPOA will carry out investigations, I don't think we should split hairs talking about what politicians are talking about in this instance. I think if we bring politicians into an issue of Albert's death, then we will be missing the point. In fact, what we should be emphasizing on is, first of all, command responsibility, which is now very clear in our laws. You remember, now we have the Baby Pendo case now pending. That is clearly, we will create jurisprudence allowed the command responsibility. But also, personal and individual responsibility of the officers, particularly those who are manning the central police station. And I think it's important to inform our officers, the members of the National Police Service, that illegal orders or complying with illegal orders is no defense. Because when it gets down to you, then you will suffer alone, or you will be charged alone. And we remember the matter of the late advocate, where a police officer, is serving 20 years in jail just for not recording in the OB.
You're talking about Sylvia Wanjiku.
Yeah, Sylvia Wanjiku.
I agree.
And so that the officers may know that when you receive a command from your commander, it does not become a defense that you have carried out that. And I heard what the president said, that the officers are disclosing that they are getting instructions and they have to hold Kenyans in custody for weekends on end. So it's important that the police gets to know that. But also more importantly is the funding of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, including increasing their investigators and their budgets. Because as long as that is not done, then they will go around in circles. So we know they have very few investigators. The investigators have no powers of arrest. They are not armed. Their budgets are low. They are in 8 regions in the country. So whether we want it or not, convictions will remain low. And we cannot entirely blame IPOA for low convictions.
Yeah.
Because it's a chain. There are many matters pending in court. There are many more pending in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, not even taken to court yet. So interference can be on any level. It can be at the political level. It can be at the ODPP. It can also be in the National Police Service. So what we should do, in my view, is that when a matter such as this comes to forth, it should be handled with a lot of care. Because a life has been lost, and we cannot afford now to start talking politics back and forth, so that we get justice to this family and many other families that have lost their life.
And yesterday there was the guarantee that was given by the current chair, Ahmed. And according to the Oversight Authority, it received 30,493 complaints received and processed. Of these, investigations that have been completed is 5,655 and only 33 convictions made. 136 cases before courts, 878 cases referred to the ODPP. Police operations monitored is more than 660. Inspection of police premises, 4,804. Certainly, this is not a good record, is it?
Absolutely, but I'll tell you this. Also, some of the officers who are arrested and investigated, or the complaints received by IPOA, are not prosecutable. So sometimes, and that's why you see a high number of complaints to IPOA, but IPOA is not mandated to handle all the complaints. Some of those complaints will necessarily go to the Internal Affairs Unit because they are disciplinary in nature. Others will go to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and others will go to Commission on Administrative Justice. So the chunk that is left with IPOA is now what is comprised of the investigated cases, which obviously now also goes to the ODPP. The ODPP doesn't take all of them to court because he has also to look at the evidence that is available, and then only takes to court what he thinks or what he passes as prosecutable cases, and then the courts themselves will convict based on evidence. So you will see less and less convictions based on the manner of investigations, who has been brought to court, and then, of course, the courts convict or acquit.
Yeah.
So it means, and that's why I was saying, there are many officers within the service who do their work very diligently and professionally. But there are others who are wrong, and those who are wrong are very few. And it tells you to look at the convictions that the law officers are actually very few. And that's why we are having a low number of those who are convicted. So if we condemn them en masse, we may lose the point that actually only a few officers are law. Yeah. And that's why I also said any junior officer who takes instructions from a commander, instructions that are illegal, then that stands as no defense to that officer.
Yes, Bonares, you had a point. I'll come to you, Gracie, later on.
No, I just wanted to say two things. That the crime that happened at Central Police Station is not one that can be justified, is not one that can be explained, and trying to bring in politics or any other thing is, really an attempt at trivializing a very, very important issue. One of the things that we have to accept is that for perhaps the last 1 year, there's been an increase of abuse of police powers for political purposes.
Exactly.
So that we have a force, a police service that has been weaponized to advance political interests. So that's the first thing. And that is the first sad thing in this situation. And then the second is that as a result of that impunity and misuse of police powers, and that's why I was having a problem with the former spokesperson, when there's no act that is being abused like the Cybercrime Act.
Exactly.
Because the purpose for which Cybercrime Act has been enacted is actually to deal with cybercrime as known and defined in law, which are issues to do with hacking, which are issues to do with the misuse of systems. So when somebody is using his phone on Twitter and makes a statement that could be insulting or derogatory, that is not a criminal offense. It is not something that we approve of, but it is not a criminal offense. It is civil in nature. You deal with it in the manner in which it's supposed to be dealt with. But also, what has happened to just courtesy and good manners? If this gentleman had committed a crime in law, what was so difficult with just going to tell him, show up at a police station, we have conducted our investigations, we have found that you have done this, come and we will take you to court on this day. So the manner in which he was arrested tells you of the overzealousness. They are getting to that point where they believe that they are above the law. Why? Because they are being used to advance certain political interests, and because of advancing those political interests, there is no accountability. Now we come to, for example, the institution that is supposed to check them. If you want to be sure that there is no political goodwill, yeah, IPOA is understaffed, under-resourced, and so they are trying to do their job. There are so many cases when I've had discussions with them, so many cases where they have investigated. And one of the things that we need to tell you, because I was involved in this case working with IJM, yes, on the Ruaraka OCS who was eventually convicted for killing someone in Nahashon Mutua. The level of interference that is in those kind of cases, because even some of those witnesses had to be put in police protection, had to be put in witness protection, because there was an attempt to actually kill those witnesses. Those witnesses. And that is the thing that we are saying, that you cannot have the DIG. And let me tell you one thing, and I wanted to respond to what Charles Owino had said here, that if I report a crime and police officers torture that person and kill that person is different than when the complainant is the DIG of police.
Exactly.
It is different. This is their direct boss. He is their direct boss. And so the overzealousness in which that manner is whatever is directly attributable to the fact that he is their direct boss and he is their commander.
Okay. Exactly.
So he knows, he ought to know that as a DIG, on these petty small things, I have to learn to overlook some of these things, because he is in office, he's in public office. And when you're in public office, there is a higher level of scrutiny that is leveled on you. And sometimes some comments would be made that are actually not factual, that are actually not true, but that is the nature of the office.
Okay.
So he was personally aggrieved about those insults that were made against him. And so this young man was being beaten because of insulting the IG. And that is why he died. Okay. And so for that reason, the IG is...
The deputy IG.
The deputy IG is an accessory to this crime by virtue of being the commander. So he should not be in office as these investigations are ongoing.
Yes, Grace, I'll come to you, Charles.
Yeah, and that was my point. And I wanted to say to the spokesman, the former spokesman, when you were in office, a lot of things were said about you. Would you use your power, even now they're still saying, right? Would you use your office to then insist on this person being... No, please let me finish.
Let her finish.
Just let me finish.
Just, I agree, you will finish. You know,
no, allow her.
Let me finish. Yeah. So you don't abuse your power because you're holding this power. Okay, as a DIG, you use your officers or whoever, the chain of command, a pecking order for this person to be arrested. Look at the facts from Homa Bay, Ayub, to Nairobi. On what case? That false publication from Homa Bay to Nairobi. It is, he has to take responsibility. And remember what we are saying. This is just one of the steps as we move forward. We have to undertake thorough investigations, and I want to speak a little bit about IPOA. When the new board of IPOA came into place, we did have an induction process with them, and they had a very elaborate induction process. And part of the civil society had candid conversations with them. And one of the things we have impressed upon them is that they must redeem IPOA. And they have said they are committed to doing that, but they cannot do that without adequate resources, without the support and the independence. It's an independent oversight policing authority, but they do not have the independence. A lot of times there's also been interference. I know, Commissioner, you will agree with me. So this office needs to run as an independent investigative office. The other thing that we need to ensure that is working is the prosecutions. When cases go to the DPP, what happens? There's been a bit of a push and pull in that area. So we need to ensure that the mechanisms and the arm of justice is working so that we stop letting Kenyans down. But we cannot play around with the issue of us not requesting, but demanding that the DIG steps down. It's to allow a transparent process without interference, because the officers who are in office now, they will tell you behind cameras that there's a lot of interference, that they're not even supposed to speak to people, that they are not supposed to give certain evidence. And if we were to elaborate on some of the contradictions that have been given, a lot of us have been to Central Police Station. When did you see a solitary cell, somebody held in solitary in the cells? Okay?
With water spilled on the floor. With water spilled
on the floor. I am privy to the information that the said wall, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not interfering with the investigations, but they said wall is not a wall, it's a ceiling. You know, so some of these things need to be investigated in a system that allows for the truth to come out. Remember, Kenyans are hurting, and what we are doing is we are fueling anger by just not making the environment right for thorough, independent, prompt investigations. I want to give IPOA the opportunity because I've spoken to them on a one-to-one, and they have promised and they have said we are committed to ensuring that we deliver on our mandate, but they need support. So let us give them an opportunity to prove us wrong. This time.
Okay.
Yes.
Not only with Albert's life, but also all the other cases who are
absolutely.
Allegedly by police bullet. Yes, Charles.
Yes, it's okay. First of all, I'm grateful to Mr. President because he said there are things you need to assume. I think there we meet closely. It's a point of equilibrium that at top leadership, there are things you need to assume. And President, that is how also people get experience. I am sure in Mr. Lagat's career going forward, if he has opportunity to remain in office, this would be one of the biggest lessons that sometimes you have to assume. The only thing is that I trust the DCI's capacity to investigate this matter. And it will be of great interest to get to know actually what really happened. I've told you, it's sad to me because unfortunately, Mr. President, I remain a policeman for the rest of my life. No matter any position I would get, I would still remain a policeman. And I would want the police to have a very good image. I remember one of my sons telling me that he would want to join police. I had my reservations. I told him, what I've gone through is so painful. And I would not want my child to go through what I've gone through, because sometimes you find yourself in a position and in a very awkward position. I remember when baby Pendo died, I was police spokesperson. Everybody in my community came and told me, you have killed baby Pendo. When I went to campaign, I was being told, you've killed baby Pendo. So it's a very tough experience. And that is why when I brought in the political aspect, I didn't bring in for any purpose. I just wanted us to be a bit broad in thinking and say, let's leave it to investigators to tell us. The only thing that you must insist, or we must insist, is we must get the truth on this matter, because all of us have children. And even if you don't have children, the children of this country belong to all of us. Yes. They are our children, and we must protect them.
Yeah.
The only thing going forward also, Mr. President, is that we need also to rethink about our own personal discipline, how we want to transact business. Let us also not leave it very open for people just to do what they want, attack people, abuse others. But it should not go to an extent of killing someone. I always believe that if a murderer, if somebody who has killed someone in broad daylight, we can't kill him. we have to take him to court.
Yes. And we have adequate laws to take care of all those.
Yeah, internationally, we have reached a level where even when you are convicted for murder, we are not even ready to hang them. We want death penalty abolished across board. So there is no level of crime or activity that would amount to somebody killing another. It's not acceptable. And I agree with all of you. That is totally not acceptable. The only thing is I would want us not to be overzealous and over-target, but it is important that we look at this. And our image, the image of the police is very important.
Yes.
I have something to say about IPOA. Many Kenyans maybe don't know. In 2004, we had a police strategic plan, which was running 2004-2008. And we had recommendations. One of our recommendations was to have a civilian oversight authority. Because we realized sometimes, even as a policeman, you are offended, or sometimes you are justified in your action. But when you allow yourselves to investigate, people don't tend to agree with you. So we wanted a civilian oversight authority. We also wanted to have one police service. We didn't want something called AP. We wanted to have a national police service. We can have units, but we wanted to have one police service. At the same time, we wanted to have a police service commission. We wanted to be pulled out of the public service commission. Why? Because our job is a bit unique